The unsettling stillness hit me first, not the chaos of overturned furniture and scattered books. A heavy, unnatural silence, like a suffocating blanket, clung to the air of my London flat, whispering of something deeply amiss. My name is Eleanor Vance, and I'd just returned from a grueling week in the Cotswolds, enduring trust fall exercises and corporate jargon at a company retreat for sterling investments. Now, standing amidst the wreckage of my ransacked apartment, I realized the real betrayal wasn't from a conniving coworker, but from within my own family. My hand trembled as I dialed Alistair's number. 1 ring. 2. Voicemail. Predictably, my esteemed husband was likely at his family's estate in Surrey, feigning ignorance. Alistair, the flat's been broken into. The wall safe is open. Call me back immediately. I surveyed the debris of my violated sanctuary, cataloging the damage. Picture frames askew, drawers rifled, cushions ripped open. They hadn't been after cash or jewels. This was a targeted attack. They'd gone straight for what mattered most. My grandfather's war diaries, my only tangible connection to him. My phone buzzed. Not Alistair. It was Daniel from Stirling. How was the drive back? Someone broke into my flat, my voice wavered. The safe, they knew the combination. Daniel, God. Are you all right? Shall I come over? No. I know exactly who did this. I kicked aside a shredded newspaper. Vivian's fingerprints are all over this. She's been after those diaries for years. Your mother-in-law? Why on earth? Because she can't stand that Alistair married someone who won't be her puppet. I reached the kitchen where even the pantry had been ransacked. She's convinced those diaries prove my grandfather swindled hers out of a substantial sum during the war, some old business deal she refuses to let go. Call the police, Daniel said, and tell them what? That my mother-in-law used a key my husband probably gave her to steal family documents? That my sister-in-law, Penelope, likely helped because she's bitter about her recent inheritance dispute and wants to sabotage my marriage? I laughed, a hollow, broken sound. They're too clever for that. They'll claim Alistair gave them permission. My word against the entire Cartwright clan. The door to the storage room gaped open. I hadn't checked it yet. I have to go, Daniel. I need to see what else they took. Eleanor, wait. I hung up and descended the narrow staircase, each step creaking ominously. The dim light revealed further chaos. But a small, white slip of paper wedged beneath a toppled box caught my eye. A receipt from a locksmith, dated 3 days prior, for a duplicate key. My phone buzzed. Alistair. Where are you? I preempted him at Mother's? Eleanor, I can explain. Did you give her a key? Silence. Then, she said she just wanted to look for some old family photos while you were gone. I didn't think. You never do think when it comes to her, do you? I crumpled the receipt. Those diaries were all I had left of my grandfather, Alistair. The only things truly mine. We can talk about this when I get home. No, the word was sharp, final. We'll talk about this in front of everyone. I'm coming to Surrey now. And Alistair, tell your mother to prepare for a fight. I ended the call and stood in the ransacked storage room, surrounded by the ruins of trust. They thought they could break me, mold me into another obedient Cartwright. They had underestimated me. Sometimes, the most dangerous adversary isn't the one who strikes first, but the one who knows how to retaliate. Vivian's immaculate drawing room in Surrey grated on my nerves. Everything perfectly placed, not a cushion out of line, while my flat lay in ruins across London. The family portraits that adorned the walls told their own story, Alistair and Penelope's childhood, meticulously curated to reflect Vivian's version of reality. My wedding photo was conspicuously absent. I haven't the faintest idea what you're talking about. Vivian's voice dripped with saccharine venom as she poured tea into bone china cups. Alistair gave me permission to look for some old family albums while you were away. Nothing more. Penelope sat beside her mother, arms crossed, diamond tennis bracelet flashing. You're being dramatic, Eleanor. As per usual. I placed the locksmith's receipt on the polished mahogany table. How curious that you required a new key 3 days ago. Planning ahead. Alistair shifted uncomfortably, eyes darting between his mother and me. Perhaps we should all just calm down. Oh, we're perfectly calm, I said, watching Vivian's manicured hand tighten around her teacup. Just as we were calm last Easter when you went through my handbag while I was in the garden. Or last month when you appeared unannounced at my office to check on me. I worry about my son, Vivian said smoothly. Someone needs to protect his interests. His interests? My laugh was brittle. Or your own. Mother was right about you from the start. Penelope leaned forward, her eyes gleaming. You never truly belonged, always secretive, hiding things in that safe of yours. Those diaries belong to my family. Diaries that prove your grandfather cheated ours out of a fortune 80 years ago. Vivian's composure finally fractured. That investment should have been ours. Your grandfather knew precisely what he was doing when he... Mother. Alistair's warning came too late. I rose slowly, the pieces clicking into place. So, you admit you took them? Vivian's face instantly smoothed over. I admitted nothing, and you have no proof. You're right. I pulled out my phone, thumb hovering over the record button. But I will. Alistair, are you coming home, or are you staying here? He looked at his mother, then at me. Forever torn, forever choosing the path of least resistance. I think, perhaps we all need some space to cool off. Wrong answer. I headed for the door, pausing to look back at Vivian. You know what's amusing? Those diaries you stole? They're not the originals. Just photocopies. Decoys. Grandfather taught me well. Always keep what matters most where manipulative people can't reach it. Vivian's teacup clattered against its saucer. You're lying. Am I? I suppose you'll have to wonder about that, along with what else I might have tucked away. I met Alistair's gaze. Don't bother coming back to the flat tonight. Or perhaps ever. Eleanor, wait, he started to rise, but Penelope gripped his arm. Let her go, she hissed. She's just trying to manipulate you, as always. I closed the door on Vivian's perfectly ordered world and walked to my car. My hands shook as I gripped the steering wheel, but not with fear. The originals were safe, exactly as I'd said, locked away in a vault since the day I married Alistair and saw the avarice in Vivian's eyes when grandfather's diaries were mentioned at the wedding. My phone buzzed. Daniel again. How bad was it? They took the bait. Vivian practically confessed. I started the engine. But I need your help with something. Remember that security system you installed at your cottage in Cornwall? The one with the hidden cameras. Yes, why? Because I'm done playing defense. They want to go through my things. Let's ensure we catch them in the act next time. I pulled away from the Cartwright estate, watching it shrink in my rearview mirror. And Daniel? Thank you for being the one person in my life who actually listens. Always. But Eleanor, be careful. People like that, they're most dangerous when cornered. I ended the call, my mind already racing with plans. Vivian thought she knew me, had me pegged. But she'd overlooked one crucial detail. I'd spent 5 years observing her manipulate everyone around her. I'd learned from the master. And now it was time to put those lessons to use. The cafe across from Vivian's favorite Knightsbridge salon wasn't my usual haunt, but it offered a perfect vantage point. I'd been observing for an hour when Daniel slid into the seat opposite me, pushing a cappuccino toward me. The cameras are installed, he said. Motion sensors, night vision, the works. Feeding directly to your phone. But are you certain about this? I nodded towards the salon window where Vivian and Penelope sat, enjoying their weekly manicures. Listen. I pressed play on my phone. Their voices, crystal clear through the bug I'd planted in Vivian's handbag during our confrontation. We need those original diaries, Vivian was saying. That vault has to be at her bank in the city. Alistair says she's been scrutinizing their financial records, Penelope replied. Probably planning to divorce him and take him to the cleaners. Over my dead body. I didn't spend 40 years building this family's reputation to have her destroy it. We're going back to the flat tomorrow, while she's at work. There has to be something we can use against her. I stopped the recording. Still think I'm paranoid? Daniel's expression hardened. We should take this to the police. And tell them what? That my mother-in-law is planning to rob me? They'll dismiss it as a family squabble. I wrapped my hands around the warm mug. Besides, I want more than just stopping them. I want them to face consequences for once in their privileged lives. My phone buzzed. Alistair calling again. 4th time today. I ignored it. He's been staying at their estate, I said. Probably conspiring with them, trying to ascertain where the originals are. Or maybe he's worried about you. Then he should have worried before giving them a key to my flat. The cappuccino turned to ash in my mouth. Before choosing them over me. Again. A text from Alistair. Please come home. We need to talk. Home, I muttered. As if that word has any meaning anymore. Daniel leaned forward. Eleanor, I know you're hurt, but... The salon door chimed. Vivian and Penelope emerged, freshly manicured nails gleaming. They headed towards Vivian's Bentley, but Vivian paused, looking directly at the cafe window. I didn't move, couldn't breathe. Her lips curved into that knowing smile I'd grown to loathe. She knew I was watching. Time to go, I said, standing abruptly. They'll be at my flat tomorrow at 11 o'clock, like clockwork. That's when we catch them. We? Daniel raised an eyebrow. I thought you wanted to handle this yourself. I did. I do. But I gathered my things, my hands trembling slightly. I can't face them alone anymore. I need someone in my corner. Always. He touched my arm gently. Just promise me one thing. Don't let this consume you. I've seen what it does to people. I watched Vivian's car pull away, remembering the day she'd first revealed her true colors. Our wedding reception, when she cornered me by the champagne fountain. You'll never be good enough for this family, she'd hissed. One day Alistair will realize that. This isn't about revenge, I told Daniel. It's about justice. And perhaps saving Alistair from them, even if he doesn't want to be saved. My phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. I opened it and my blood ran cold. Found something interesting in your grandfather's old business records. Tomorrow afternoon. Hyde Park. Come alone. Or Alistair learns everything about the Fairchild affair. Daniel noticed my expression. What's wrong? I closed the message, my mind racing. The Fairchild affair. My grandfather's deepest regret. The secret he'd taken to his grave. The real reason Vivian despised my family. Nothing, I lied, forcing a smile. Just work things. I should go and prepare for tomorrow. But as I walked to my car, Vivian's words from 5 years ago echoed in my mind. One day Alistair will realize that. Maybe she was right. Maybe tomorrow he would. And maybe it was time he did. Hyde Park felt different in the afternoon. Colder, somehow. I sat on a bench, clutching a manila envelope, ammunition for whatever game Vivian was playing. The Fairchild files. My grandfather had sealed them away decades ago, now a weapon in my hands. A shadow fell across my lap. Not Vivian. Alistair. Eleanor. His voice was strained. Mother told me everything. He sat beside me, leaving a careful space between us. About the Fairchild affair. About what your grandfather did to our family. The envelope felt heavier. Did she tell you how her father tried to blackmail mine? How he threatened to ruin his business unless he handed over that investment? That's not, he stopped, rubbing his face. She said you'd try to twist things, like she's twisted you. I turned to face him. When did you give her the safe combination, Alistair? His silence was answer enough. The day after our wedding, I continued. When she convinced you I was hiding something. That's why you've been checking our bank statements, isn't it? Looking for evidence I'm stealing from you. I was protecting our family. Our family. The laugh that escaped me sounded alien. There is no our family. There's only ever been yours. My phone buzzed. Daniel, texting about the cameras he'd installed. Everything was ready for tomorrow's trap. But suddenly, it all felt pointless. She's using you, I said softly. She always has. And you let her because it's easier than standing up to her. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. I stood, dropping the envelope in his lap. Here. The precious Fairchild files. Proof that your grandfather was the one who committed fraud, not mine. Proof that your mother's been lying all these years. He stared at the envelope. How did you get these? From my grandfather's old business partner. Turns out he's been waiting years for someone to finally expose the truth. I stepped back. But you know what? Keep them. Burn them. Give them to Vivian. I don't care anymore. Eleanor, wait. I filed for divorce yesterday. The words hung between us, sharp and brittle. Alistair's face paled. You, what? Check your email. The papers should arrive today. My hands were steady now. I'm done being the villain in Vivian's narrative. Done watching you choose them over me. Done pretending we have a marriage worth saving. He stood, reaching for me. We can fix this. I'll talk to Mother. That's precisely the problem. I moved away from his touch. Your first instinct is still to run to her. It always will be. My phone buzzed again. Vivian this time. Where are you? We had a deal. I typed back. Deals change. Ask Alistair about the files. You can't just throw away 5 years of marriage. Alistair pleaded. You already did that when you gave them the key to my flat. I started walking away, then paused. You know what the saddest part is? I actually believed I could save you from them. But you don't want to be saved. Eleanor. Goodbye, Alistair. I walked through the park, past the spot where he proposed, past the fountain where we used to feed the ducks. My phone continued buzzing. Vivian, Alistair, even Penelope. I silenced them all. Only Daniel's message got through. Cameras are live. You still want to go through with tomorrow's plan? I stopped at the park exit, looking back one last time. Alistair stood where I'd left him, envelope clutched in his hands, looking utterly lost. For a moment, my resolve wavered. Then I remembered the ransacked flat, the violated safe, 5 years of subtle manipulation and gaslighting. Yes, I texted back. But change of plans. I don't just want to catch them in the act anymore. What do you want? I watched Alistair pull out his phone, probably calling Vivian, always running back to Mother. I want to destroy them, I typed. All of them. Because sometimes the only way to save yourself is to burn everything to the ground and start over. The security camera feed flickered on my laptop screen as I sat in my car across the street. 10 minutes until Vivian's customary Thursday morning intrusion. Daniel's sophisticated system captured every angle of my flat, front door, back door, even the small balcony Vivian had once sneered at. You don't have to watch this, Daniel said from the passenger seat. We can just let the cameras record. I need to see it. My knuckles whitened around my takeaway coffee cup. Need to know exactly how they do it. Right on schedule, Vivian's Bentley pulled up outside my building. She emerged, impeccably dressed as always, followed by Penelope. But then a third person stepped out. Alistair. The coffee cup crumpled in my hand. He's helping them. They approached the front door, Alistair glancing nervously around. Vivian said something, gesturing impatiently. He produced a key. Not the copy, but his own. Bloody hell, Daniel muttered. Eleanor, maybe we should wait. I gripped his arm as a fourth figure emerged from Vivian's car. Who's that? The man in the tailored suit exuded an air of authority, carrying a briefcase. He looked vaguely familiar. That's Gerald Finch, Daniel said. Vivian's solicitor. I've seen him at a few galas. The group disappeared inside my flat. I switched between camera views, watching them move through the rooms with unnerving familiarity. Vivian directed them like a conductor leading an orchestra. The study, she was saying, her voice clear through the hidden microphones. Those Fairchild files have to be here somewhere. Mother, Alistair protested feebly. She said she gave them to me. Copies, obviously. You think your wife would relinquish her only leverage? Search everything. I watched them tear through my home again. But this time was different. This time, I saw Alistair's hands trembling as he opened drawers, saw Penelope's smug smirk as she swept books off shelves, saw Vivian's mask slip when she thought no one was watching, revealing raw desperation beneath. "The bookcase," Finch said suddenly. "Did you check behind it?" My breath caught. The antique bookcase had been a decoy. Everyone knew about it. But behind it, "There's nothing back there," Alistair said quickly. Too quickly. Vivian's eyes narrowed. "Move it. Mother. Move it." I grabbed my phone, fingers hovering over 999. Behind that bookcase was a hidden compartment, built by a previous owner. Inside were documents far more damaging than the Fairchild affair, evidence of Vivian's own shady dealings, meticulously gathered over 5 years of watching and waiting. Alistair stepped forward, then stopped. "No." "What did you say?" Vivian rounded on him. I said no. His voice was stronger now. "This ends now. We're leaving. After everything I've done for you?" Vivian's composure cracked. "That woman has poisoned you against your own family. That woman is my wife." "Not anymore," Finch interrupted smoothly. "The divorce papers were filed yesterday. You have no legal right to." "To what?" I stepped into the doorway, phone recording everything. Breaking and entering? Destruction of property? Conspiracy. They froze like deer in headlights. Except Vivian. She smiled, that knowing smile. "Perfect timing, darling. We were just discussing the Fairchild affair and other family matters." "I can see that." I moved further into the room, Daniel close behind. "But you made one crucial mistake, Vivian. You got careless. Desperate. I don't know what you're talking about. The Fairchild affair was never about a fraudulent investment, was it? It was about covering up what really happened. What you did." I met Alistair's stunned gaze. "The real documents aren't behind that bookcase. They're already with the Metropolitan Police. Along with proof that your mother laundered millions through offshore accounts. That's why she's so desperate to find evidence against my family, to protect herself." The room exploded into chaos. Vivian lunged for her solicitor. Penelope started shrieking. Alistair stood frozen between them all. But I kept my eyes on Vivian, watching her perfect world crumble. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying someone. Sometimes it's about letting them destroy themselves. And sometimes justice comes from simply telling the truth. The flashing blue lights of the police cars illuminated my flat. Vivian sat regally on the sofa, tears streaming down her perfectly made-up face as she spoke to the officers. "I was simply trying to protect my son," she sobbed. "From her." She pointed at me, and I watched 5 years of meticulous planning disintegrate. "Mrs. Cartwright was threatening our family," Finch added smoothly. "We have evidence of her harassment, her obsession with ruining her mother-in-law's reputation. The break-in was merely an attempt to recover documents that rightfully belonged to the family." My phone felt heavy in my pocket. The recording of their intrusion, now useless. They'd outmaneuvered me, turned it all around, just like Vivian always did. "That's not true," Alistair said suddenly. All eyes turned to him. "Mother, stop. Just stop." Vivian's tears vanished instantly. "Alistair, darling, you don't understand." "I understand perfectly." He stepped away from her, towards me. But I flinched too. Too little, too late. "The money laundering accusations, they're true, aren't they? That's why you've been so desperate to destroy Eleanor's family's reputation, to cover your own tracks." "Everything I did was for this family." Vivian's mask finally shattered. "That money secured your future. Your sister's future. And she jabbed a finger at me, threatened to ruin everything." The officers exchanged glances. One spoke into his radio. "Mrs. Vivian Cartwright, we're going to need you to come down to the station. This is preposterous. I'm the victim here." She turned to her solicitor. "Finch, do something." But Finch was already edging towards the door. "I believe our professional relationship has concluded, Vivian. Given the circumstances." Everything happened quickly after that. Vivian protesting as they led her away, Penelope trailing behind, ranting about family loyalty. Finch slipping out during the commotion. The evidence I'd gathered being collected, documented, bagged. Alistair stayed. "Eleanor," he began. "Don't." I wrapped my arms around myself, suddenly chilled. "Just don't. I didn't know about the offshore accounts. About any of it, I swear. But you knew about the break-ins. The harassment. The lies." My voice wavered. "You chose them. Every single time. You chose them. I can fix this." "Fix what?" I gestured at our ransacked flat. "My grandfather's diaries are still gone. Our marriage is over. Your mother's going to prison. What exactly can you fix?" Daniel appeared in the doorway. "Eleanor, the detective needs your statement." I moved to follow him, but Alistair caught my arm. "I love you," he said desperately. "Isn't that worth something?" I looked at his hand on my arm, remembering every touch, every promise, every moment I'd thought we were building something real. Then I remembered watching him help them break into my home, watching him choose his mother's lies over my truth. "One last time. Love without trust isn't love," I said quietly. "It's just another form of control." I pulled away, leaving him standing in the wreckage of our life together. The detective waited, with more questions, more forms, more procedures. Hours of explaining how I'd gathered evidence of Vivian's money laundering, how I'd documented her harassment, how I'd watched my marriage die slowly under the weight of manipulation and lies. Later, alone in my car, I pulled out my grandfather's last diary entry. The real one, not the copy Vivian had stolen. The one I'd kept close all these years. "Remember, my dear girl," he'd written. "Sometimes winning means walking away. Sometimes the greatest victory is in refusing to play their game at all." My phone buzzed. Alistair again. I declined the call and started the engine. In the rearview mirror, I could see him standing in the doorway of what used to be our home, looking lost. For a moment, my heart ached. But as I drove away, I realized something. In trying to destroy Vivian, I'd almost become her, manipulative, obsessed with control, willing to sacrifice anything for victory. My grandfather had been right. The real win wasn't in bringing Vivian down. It was in finally setting myself free. The courthouse corridor stretched long and cold. I sat on a hard wooden bench, watching Vivian's circle of acquaintances whisper amongst themselves as they awaited her arraignment. 3 weeks since the break-in, and they still couldn't quite comprehend that their esteemed philanthropist was facing money laundering charges. Alistair appeared at the end of the hall, looking haggard. Penelope clung to his arm, glaring at me. I focused on my phone, pretending to read messages. "Eleanor," his voice was closer than I'd anticipated. "Can we talk?" "The divorce papers are with your solicitor," I said without looking up. "Just sign them." "That's not," he sat beside me, too close. "Mother wants to make a deal." Now I looked at him. "A deal?" "She'll return your grandfather's diaries. All of them, if you drop the charges." A laugh escaped me, bitter as bile. "You really don't get it, do you? She's still your mother. And that's all that matters, isn't it?" I stood, needing space. Even after everything she did? Everything she stole. She made mistakes. My voice rose, attracting attention. She systematically destroyed our marriage, terrorized me in my own home, stole millions from charitable causes. Those aren't mistakes, Alistair. They're choices. Vivian's solicitor appeared, gesturing to Alistair. But before he could move, the courthouse doors swung open. Daniel rushed in, clutching a manila envelope. "Got it," he said, breathless. "Found it in Finch's office." I opened the envelope with trembling fingers. Inside was a single document, a letter from Vivian to her solicitor, dated 5 years ago, the day before my wedding. "What is that?" Alistair asked. "Insurance," I said, scanning the contents. "In case I ever threatened her control over you." I looked up as Vivian entered in handcuffs, flanked by police officers. She planned this from the start. The harassment, the break-ins, everything. It was all calculated to make me look unstable, obsessed with the Fairchild affair. Vivian's eyes locked onto the letter. For the first time, I saw genuine fear in them. "Where did you get that?" she demanded. "Your solicitor isn't as loyal as you believed." I held up the letter. "You documented everything, Vivian. Every step of your plan to destroy me. And now everyone's going to know exactly who you are." "You ungrateful little," she lunged forward, but the officers restrained her. "Mother, stop." Alistair moved between us. "Just stop." Vivian's face crumpled. "Everything I did was for you. To protect you from her." "From what?" Alistair's voice cracked. "From being happy? From having a life outside of your control? She never loved you like I do." "No," I interrupted. "I loved him enough to let him choose." "You loved him enough to make sure he never could." The whispers around us intensified. Vivian's social circle watched in horror as their perfect socialite imploded. Penelope backed away from her mother, finally seeing the truth she'd helped perpetuate. "Arraignment starting," Daniel said softly. I handed the letter to the Crown prosecutor, who'd been waiting nearby. Then I turned to Alistair, one last time. "I did love you," I said. "But love shouldn't hurt like this. Eleanor, please." "Goodbye, Alistair." I walked away as Vivian was led into the courtroom, her carefully constructed world collapsing behind me. My phone buzzed, a text from my grandfather's old business partner. "Found something in the archives," it read. "Your grandfather would be proud." Outside, the spring air felt fresh and clean. Daniel caught up with me at the bottom of the courthouse steps. "Are you all right?" he asked. I watched pigeons scatter across the pavement, startled by a passing car. In my old life, I would have flinched at the noise. Now it felt like a reminder. Life goes on, changes, transforms. "No," I said honestly. "But I will be. Because sometimes winning isn't about destroying your enemies. Sometimes it's about refusing to let them destroy you. And sometimes the greatest revenge is simply walking away, head held high, leaving them to face the consequences of their own choices." The last box from my old life remained unopened in my new Chelsea flat. Through the window, the London eye glowed against the twilight sky, a world away from the suffocating Surrey suburbs I'd escaped. My phone lit up with Daniel's text about Vivian's sentencing, 8 years for money laundering and fraud. The society columns were already ablaze with scandal, her meticulously crafted reputation shattered like a dropped champagne flute. A knock at the door made me pause. I recognized the rhythm. 3 quick taps, 1 slow. Alistair stood in the hallway, holding a familiar leather-bound bundle. "Grandfather's diaries," I said, my throat tightening. "Found them in Mother's study, while clearing out the house." He held them out like an offering. "They were always yours." I took the bundle, my fingers tracing the worn leather. "How is she?" "Angry. Bitter." He shrugged. "She's in prison. Says she's starting to understand some things about our family." "And you?" "Learning to stand on my own 2 feet." He glanced past me into the flat. "You're painting." An easel stood by the window, the canvas alive with vibrant hues of emerald and sapphire. Something I'd rediscovered, a way to express everything words couldn't capture. "It helps," I said simply. "Eleanor, I don't." I stepped back, maintaining the distance. "We both know why it ended." "I know." He produced an envelope. The signed divorce papers. And something else. "You should see this." Inside was a newspaper clipping from 40 years ago. A small article about a young Vivian Finch, before she married into wealth, desperately trying to prove herself worthy of high society. "She was always afraid," Alistair said quietly, "of losing control. Of being exposed as not good enough." I'm not excusing what she did, but I understand it now. Understanding doesn't make it right. No, but it helps me not become her. A siren wailed somewhere in the city below. In my old life, I would have recoiled from the sound. Now it felt like a reaffirmation. Life continues, evolves, transforms. I never wanted revenge, I said, surprised by the realization. I just wanted to be free. I know. That's why you won. He turned to leave, then paused. The painting, it's stunning. After he left, I opened the bundle of diaries. My grandfather's words flowed across the pages, telling stories of resilience, of defying adversity, of choosing integrity over retribution. But one passage caught my eye, written just before he died. Remember, my dear girl, some people will try to dim your light because they fear their own darkness. Your power lies not in fighting them, but in continuing to shine. I picked up my brush, adding touches of gold to the canvas. Not everything required resolution. Not every story needed a neat ending. Sometimes victory wasn't in destroying your enemies, or even forgiving them. Sometimes it was in discovering who you truly were without them. My phone buzzed again. Daniel inviting me to the Tate Modern. Not a date. Not yet. But maybe someday. For now, friendship was enough. For now, I had my freedom, my truth, my art. The city lights twinkled, casting shadows that danced across my canvas. In my old life, I would have seen threats in those shadows. Now I saw possibilities, patterns, stories waiting to be told. I picked up another brush. The night was young, the canvas was waiting, and for the first time in years, I felt truly, completely free. Not because I'd won. Not because Vivian lost. But because I'd finally learned the difference between revenge and liberation. And in that difference, I found myself.